Welcome everybody, it's Katie with Ria Health, and I am back again today with Claudia Christian, the founder at C3 Foundation and advocate for medication-assisted treatment to overcome alcohol addiction. And I'm excited to talk with you today, Claudia, because we're going to talk about a really important topic that is a challenge for, I would say, most everybody who's embarking down the path of changing their relationship to alcohol. And that is, what are the things that people fear the most when they are quitting drinking? And so I just really wanted to hear from you and your perspective and kind of what you see these challenges and fears people have when they take a step down this journey.
That sounds fun, Katie. Well, first of all, I think that one of the most common responses when somebody is sort of fearful of quitting or even decreasing drinking is that, what am I going to do with all the time on my hands? Which is why it's so important, and why I love TSM, for instance, is because it's a dual therapy, but you can apply this to any medication-based treatment. If you're on Campril for craving reduction, whatever, you have to fill your life with activities that are going to take the place of all that time that you spent drinking. So what's wonderful is to start picking up old hobbies. So I have a lot of clients that are on, for instance, TSM, that suddenly start picking up an instrument or wood carving or baking. They start learning a language. They do things around the house, create a new space to read in or to practice an instrument in, or to sing, write the great American novel, whatever it is. You have to start incorporating these activities into your life, because you are going to have more time on your hands. But this is wonderful quality time. You're not spending time drinking and recovering from drinking. So this is really a great time to do all those things that add beauty to your life, including exercise, getting your body in shape. And Katie, a lot of us are sort of isolated and feeling like enough is enough with the COVID-19 issue. And now we have more time on our hands, and we're spending more time at home. So even with people, men and women, I say, look, why don't you start organizing some things too? You wouldn't believe how sloppy your closet is, probably, or your bookshelf. I just recently redid my bookshelf because I'm shooting so many videos. And I know that sounds silly, but it took quite a long time on a Saturday afternoon to do it. Now, every time I look over there, I feel calm. I feel happy. I feel like it looks beautiful. So that was just a little thing. And think of all the drawers in your kitchen that need reorganizing. A lot of my clients, they say, oh my gosh, my closet's never been cleaner. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we want. We want your life to be clean, organized, beautiful. We want you to start enriching yourself with lots of beautiful hobbies. We want you to get outside and nature bathe and spend quality time with loved ones, even if it's just virtually like you and I are doing right now. So that's one of the fears. I think the other fear that I hear a lot is, what is my personality going to be? Because I'm always known as the guy who drinks, or the girl who's the life of the party. And I have to remind people that that is sort of a romanticized vision of what you were. It really is. And I can say this from experience, that the, buzzed Claudia or drunk Claudia was not nearly as interesting or present or loving or intelligent as the abstinent by choice Claudia. So we really romanticize alcohol, and that's part of the human brain is wonderful in that we cover up trauma in a way. We protect ourselves from remembering the bad times. So you're not going to remember the time when your best friend was holding your hair above a toilet while you puked at a nightclub. You're not going to remember when you drunkenly made a pass at your best friend's partner. You're not going to remember these things because the brain is protecting you from that embarrassment, that shame, and that trauma. In a way, that's great, but in a way, it's not so great, because now we fall into romanticizing those times of saying, oh, but I had so much fun. It was so much fun. And I have to remind people, okay, really, was it fun withdrawing and having like your speeding heart in the middle of the night and like feeling withdrawal from alcohol? Was it fun feeling hungover and sick 3 days a week and slogging your way through work? Was it fun getting in a big fight with your wife or husband? Was that fun? Was it fun not spending quality time with your children or your nieces and nephews and being the drunk person at the party? So I don't like to bring these things up because I don't believe in shame and all that stuff, but it's important to remember the reality of alcohol misuse and what it brought into your life. So those are a couple of things that I do discuss with people is, you know what, you have to have faith that your personality, who you really are when you're calm and centered and present, when you're really listening to somebody, you're not cutting them off, when you're laughing like a normal person at a joke and not like a hyena at a joke, and when you're speaking at a normal level and not screaming, we do these things when we're hammered, and that's just a fact of life. So you'll find that the real you is somebody that I bet your friends and loved ones will not only appreciate and love, but they might even prefer.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I want to ask you about something that I know you have dealt with yourself and with others as well. And that is the stigma that comes along with choosing not to drink in social occasions, like you said, when someone has always been that, social drinker or life of the party or whatever. What kind of advice would you give to people when they're in those social situations where, they really don't want to drink or they're opting to not drink, but they feel that pressure or that stigma against them? What could you say there?
Well, back in my day when I was trying to be sober in cities like Los Angeles and London, where drinking was still very active. Right now, there's a lot of sober curious people, so it's a completely different scene now, and I think it's much easier to be abstinent. But back in the day, I used to always just say to people, no, 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 I had plenty before I got here. That's all I had to say, or no, I'm driving. So if people know that you're trying to reduce your drinking, it's very easy to say, you know what, tonight I just don't feel like it. If there's an unusual amount of pressure, you have a family or a group of friends that are really, that's what they do, is they hit it hard, and they're really really giving you a hard time, like, so it makes you uncomfortable and they're not respecting your choice, then I just suggest doing activities with them that don't involve drinking, like going surfing or whatever you can think of during the day, maybe going to lunch or breakfast, meeting for breakfast, something that doesn't involve drinking, or going for a hike, and suggesting that, you know what, you guys go out and party and I'll see you guys Sunday morning, let's go for a hike so you can, get over your hangover and we can hang out. You just have to have the confidence to just be strong. Peer pressure can be really bad, but I think nowadays it's so much easier because there's so many people that choose health and vitality and being present over being poisoned, basically, and feeling like crap. So I think it's a much better and easier environment. And if it really comes down to it, and your friends are just being, brutal about it, then you might want to consider making some new friends, or, like I said, only seeing them for activities that don't involve drinking, because you don't need that in your recovery. If you don't, you can say excuses like, oh, I'm on antibiotics, and then people will leave you alone, or, oh, I'm driving, and people will leave you alone because you're driving. That's just not safe, and they understand that. So if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. But if you want to do it with humor, use my old line, which is, I had plenty before I got here, thanks, I'm going to stick to water.
I love that.
Yeah, I've always used that line. I had plenty before I got here, which is true. I had 20 years of plenty before I got to this room. I'm done. Thank you very much.
That's not even a lie.
It's not even a lie. It's like, no, you don't have to specify that it's tonight. I had plenty in my life before I got here. Believe me, I've had everything. So I think you just find your comfort zone, and you can use humor to deflect, or you can just use something real, like I'm driving, or I'm on antibiotics, or I'm pregnant, whatever feels right.
Yeah. And I think what you said too, like, the most important thing is just saying it with confidence, like being sure of your decision and not letting people pressure you. And sometimes that's just in the tone of your voice and how you hold yourself, but I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, or you could even just say, you know what, I'm so dehydrated, I'm going to stick to water for now. That's another
you
great
have so
one.
many good one-liners. Like,
trust me, I've been using it for years. I've been like, oh my God, no, I went for a really long walk, I need water. And then I just stick to club soda all night. Nobody notices because the initial question is out of the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or tell the bartender, if you're really getting pressure, tell the bartender, just put club soda and a little cranberry juice in there, and you tell your friends it's vodka cranberry, if they're just never going to shut up. But if you've got friends like that, then get them out. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Next.
Oh, you're so funny. Okay. I want to ask you now about something that is a common challenge that I think a lot of people face when they're changing their relationship to alcohol, and that is sleep. The
Oh yeah.
fact that lots of people use alcohol to sleep and to fall asleep at night, and they find that if they're not drinking copious amounts, they have a hard time sleeping. What can you say about this based on your experience and working with people who have this challenge?
It is such a vicious circle. This is the cortisol nightmare that I always talk about with people. Okay, so back in the day when we were cavemen and we had to survive, and a saber-toothed tiger came out of nowhere while we were out hunting and gathering, we had something that was called a stress response, which released cortisol from the adrenal gland, hence the word adrenaline, in our body that would give us that little window of opportunity to get the hell out of the way from the saber-toothed tiger. That is cortisol. It gives you a shot of this. Your heart starts to pound and you're running. Okay, that is that, and you feel stressed and anxious. That's cortisol in your system. Well, when the body releases that for an emergency situation, it's going to shut down a lot of other things. Your immune system, your ability to procreate in a good manner, to produce eggs and sperm. It's going to shut down digestion. So all of these things suddenly shut down because your body is reserving this cortisol and this shot of adrenal basically to get through this stressful situation. Okay. So in the 1950s, they started studying alcohol and cortisol levels. And in 1966, there was the first study that actually did this, but ironically by Dr. Mendelsohn and all, so much like John Mendelsohn from Ria Health. But it wasn't him because he's too young for this. So they did this study and they found that people who were drinking even lightly, had higher levels of cortisol. Alcoholics had even higher levels of cortisol. And then non-drinkers, of course, had your regular low level of cortisol. Well, what cortisol will do, the more you drink, it will produce that feeling of anxiousness and stress and the heart palpitations in the middle of the night, especially when the alcohol starts to wear off. So when you start to go to sleep because the alcohol is now making you sleepy, what's going to happen is the alcohol starts to wear off, the sugar kicks in, the cortisol kicks in, and now you're wide awake at 3 a.m. thinking, oh my God, my life is over. I'm going to die. I have to pay those bills. I'm going to lose my job. I'm such a loser. I'm a failure. Oh my God, I can't believe how much I drank. That's called the 3 a.m. nightmare, the wolf hour. That's the cortisol hour. So here's the good news is that they tested people while they drank, and then they tested people who were abstinent from alcohol or reduced their alcohol consumption. So you've got the alcoholics, which still had very high, they actually tested it in the hair, very high levels of cortisol. And then you have the abstinent people who used to have issues with alcohol, and you have the non-drinkers. And the good news is that even the people who used to misuse alcohol, their cortisol levels eventually went down to normal levels, just like a non-drinker. So that's why when we talk about getting your sleep back with sobriety or abstinence, you get your sleep back in such a beautiful way. You go from somebody who used to be able to sleep. Look at when you were a child, you literally fell asleep anywhere, in the car, on your mom or dad's shoulder. You fell asleep everywhere. And then as we became teenagers, we slept more and more and more and more because we needed more sleep. And then as an adult, you start drinking and alcohol starts interrupting your sleep. And then when you become physically dependent on alcohol, especially, that is when you have no decent sleep, no REM sleep, nothing. You're not sleeping, you are passing out. Basically what your body is doing is just drinking enough alcohol to just pass out. But that is not sleep. That is not REM sleep. That is not healthy sleep. That's not really sleep. That is fake sleep. And that's why you feel like crap. That is why your body cannot digest food properly, why you gain weight. That is why your immune system is down and you catch colds and flus. This is why you don't feel good in the morning. This is why you crave the wrong foods, because you're craving carbohydrates and sugar again, because and caffeine, because you think that that's going to give you another up. And it's this vicious circle because you are just feeding and feeding the cortisol levels in your body, and all you're creating is stress and anxiety and lack of sleep. And I cannot tell you anything other than you've got to reduce your consumption, and you have to have alcohol-free days put in there, because otherwise you're never going to recover that beautiful natural state of sleep that we're all born with. So that is my lecture on cortisol levels and the importance of treating your body well, everything's going to function better. I mean, you talk about people when they're really misusing alcohol and they don't have a normal digestive system. Their weight is all over the place. They're retaining tons of water. It's because your body's not functioning properly. You're not allowing it to have a break from this ethanol that you're putting in your system. It's screwing up your brain, your body, everything. You got to give it a break, and we have to get you to decrease your consumption. And if you can use a medication to do that, and therapy and coaching and peer support, please do it. It is so worth it. I can tell you, just for myself, even when I was just lightly drinking, I still had disrupted sleep. And now that I've been a year and a half abstinent, I got to tell you, my sleep is just gorgeous. It's like, it's perfect. And for somebody, with hormone changes and all that, and lots of stress and anxiety in my life, I lost a parent recently. I mean, all of that, I'm still sleeping, which is just such a gift. It's such a gift. So it's really important to be aware of that and understand why you're wide awake at 2, 3 in the morning. That's why. It's a physiological issue, and you can help that issue by reducing your consumption.
I learned so much from you just now. I'm going to have to rewatch this video just to digest that more. That's so informative and helpful, because so often I hear people say, oh, alcohol makes me sleep. Now I'm drinking less, I can't sleep. But it's fake sleep, essentially. It's not real sleep. And there's going to be likely a transition period, it sounds like, when you're kind of adjusting and changing your relationship to alcohol. And you might lose a few nights of sleep, and it might be challenging, but it's all going toward healing and better sleep ultimately in the future. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, absolutely. And what you want to do is just take those. What I really, really recommend people do is if you are decreasing your consumption, and let's say you have an alcohol-free day, you've aspired to that and you finally fulfilled it, but you can't sleep, stop stressing out about it and get out of bed and do something. But don't watch TV, don't get on your computer. So go write in your journal, go down into your kitchen and have a little bit of yogurt or a glass of warm milk or some magnesium or calcium supplement. Do some crafts, do something that doesn't involve looking at a screen. And then when your body naturally starts to get tired again, go back to bed and just try and make sure your bedroom is cool. Make sure that your bedroom is very dark. Don't use any devices before bedtime. That just activates the brain and even shoots even more confusing signals to the brain. So all of this sleep hygiene, they call, you can just Google sleep hygiene, and anybody who's going through this, just know that you're going to come out the other end with beautiful sleep. And it is so worth the couple weeks when your brain is just adjusting to this, lack of alcohol, which is a good thing. It's a good thing.